Well, on this date, January 10th, 2019, the big lie of the Trump presidency collapsed, and it collapsed in public. Most big Trump lies collapse instantaneously the second Donald Trump says them to people who are well informed enough to know it is a lie, people who can process the difference between truth and falsehood, fact and fiction. The big lie of the Trump presidency was in Donald Trump's presidential campaign announcement 3.5 years ago.
I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me, and I'll build them very inexpensively. I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words.
That was the paid audience that Donald Trump hired for his campaign announcement, so they weren't as enthusiastic. They didn't know that the wall was supposed to be a big cheer line, but you saw what happened to it during the campaign. It got cheers every time Donald Trump said it, and Mexico will pay for the wall became a campaign chant led by Donald Trump. That big lie, Mexico will pay for the wall, was carried into the Trump presidency, and it immediately became a problem for President Trump. In his first conversation as president with the president of Mexico on the telephone, Donald Trump begged the president of Mexico to stop saying Mexico would not pay for the wall. And now Donald Trump himself is finally saying Mexico will not pay for the wall. These are the moments that Donald Trump hates more than any others in his public life. If you ask him if he had sex with a porn star and paid her off during his third marriage, that's the kind of thing he can take in stride. But having to admit that one of his big lies is a lie is as painful as it gets for Donald Trump. And you can see it. You can see it when it happens. Let's take a look at what might be the single most painful moment of the presidential campaign for Donald Trump. It was the moment that Donald Trump believed would never come when he began his presidential campaign, because Donald Trump did not expect to be the Republican nominee. He was just running to try to increase his fame, which was fading then. But then there he was, as the Republican nominee, with only 7 weeks left in a presidential campaign. And he had to admit that the foundational lie of his political career was a lie. The lie that endeared Donald Trump to American racists was a lie. The lie he began telling 5 years before the moment when he had to admit that it was a lie. The first time Donald Trump told this big lie in 2011, I immediately said, it was a big lie, but sadly, the news media did not then know how to handle it. Not only did they not call it a lie, they entertained it in repeated interviews in which they allowed him to tell that lie on national television and build his political base every time he told that lie. And it took 5 years for the news media to finally corner Donald Trump and force him to admit the foundational lie of the Trump political career.
President Barack Obama was born in the United States, period.
Couldn't you just see how that felt for Donald Trump? That was one of those days for Donald Trump when he had to do that. Today was one of those days. And so now, the chance of Mexico will pay for the wall will never be heard again.
When during the campaign, I would say Mexico's going to pay for it. Obviously, I never said this, and I never meant they're going to write out a check.
And it only got worse from there.
Your campaign. I don't expect. When I say Mexico, when I say Mexico's going to pay for the wall, do you think they're going to write a check for $20 billion or $10 billion or $5 billion or 2 cents? No.
Not even 2 cents. Mexico is not going to pay 2 cents for the wall. That's not going to work as the new chant. The president also said today that Mexico would pay for the wall indirectly, which is exactly like saying President Barack Obama was born in Kenya indirectly. And so is the new chant going to be Mexico will pay for the wall indirectly? It is impossible for Mexico to pay for the wall indirectly. Impossible. President Trump said that the update of NAFTA that his administration has negotiated with Mexico will indirectly pay for the wall. That is impossible. First of all, the updated deal has not even been approved by Congress. And if you've been watching Congress lately, you might get the feeling that it might never be approved by Congress. But even if it is approved by Congress, there is nothing in that deal that indirectly pays for the wall. The only thing that can ever pay for the wall is an American taxpayer money that is processed in internal revenue processing centers that are now not processing anything because President Trump has shut down the government.